Hey, the Royals somehow, there's a little smoke and mirrors in it. I mean, the Royals are 5th in all of baseball in runs scored, but
it's not.
But they're 12th in OPS, which doesn't really add up.
No, I mean, so some of it does in a way that there was a stat a while ago, and I can't remember who put it out or where it was, so I have no idea what it was. But there was a stat that kind of included stolen bases in OPS, and the Royals they get the extra base because they do steal bases. Not everybody, and not all the time, but that helps a little bit. So I think that balances it out. And generally, they're a really good base running team, which I think allows the OPS to play up a little bit. So if you're, again, this is another thing I saw a couple of years ago, and I don't remember where it was, but if you're 12th, then you're a good base running team. That's almost like being 10th, for example. So I think that's some of how they're doing it. But yeah, I mean, some of it is totally situational hitting that is, I don't know how. It's not as repeatable as some people think, and it's not as not repeatable as some people think. It's somewhere in the middle. But, they're hitting, I think they're down probably below this now, although they only had like one at bat with a runner in scoring position yesterday, so maybe they're not. But I think they're around 300. And that's tough to do with runners in scoring position. So will that fall off? Maybe. Maybe not. Also, I can't tell you it won't, or that it will. So that's been helpful to them, but
they also generally catch the ball. So
they catch the ball. I mean, lately they've had a couple of lapses, but they do a lot of things really well. And it's one of those things too. You hear, well, they don't do the little things well, and I don't really care about the little things if they're not doing the big things well. But they're doing the big things well, and they're doing a lot of little things well. Then that's when it starts to matter, and they do a lot of them.
Well, now I think is the time where you just can't, let opportunities like going to Oakland with no crowds whatsoever and a team that's lost 9 of their last 10 and has been spunky at times, but they're sitting there ready to get beat right now. And you probably ought to do it because sooner or later the Rangers are going to wake up and kick somebody around for a while. So, and that's the series that follows. So what's cool is that it sounds dumb, but every week we could literally sit here, whether I'm talking to you or I'm just talking to myself, and say that it's a big stretch right now for the Royals. When's the last time they had a big stretch in June? 2017? And I actually need to look back. They might have been struggling still by June and turn it on in July. So it might be 2016. So it's good. And you're right though. You got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. And the A's are bad. I mean, they were 17-17. They beat the Marlins 20-4. I believe that was the day, either the day of or the day after they traded Luis Arraez. And so the Marlins were toast. The A's took advantage. They were 17-17, and now I think they're 26-47 or 48 maybe. That's 9 and whatever it is, 30, 31, whatever. They've been bad for a while.
It's a bad stretch, and the Royals contributed to that. They swept them. They did what they were supposed to do in Kansas City, and now, you look at the pitching matchups in the series, and I wrote this morning. Just looking at the names, it's okay. That's a sweep. I mean, right. There's one. The pitcher tomorrow night. I'm blanking on his last name. It's Hogan something.
Hogan Harris.
Hogan Harris. But have I heard of this guy? And then I look back and he pitched against the Royals last year, and I vaguely remembered. I watch a lot of baseball. And I read a lot of baseball, and I could not place the name Hogan Harris to save my life. So doesn't mean he's bad. There are good players all over the world that I've never heard of. But that was kind of shocking to me when I saw that. I'm going, I usually at least have some reference on a player, and I had none on him. So on paper, it looks like a sweep. It's a weird circumstance to go play in an empty stadium. I will say that, but that's an excuse when you're a 106 loss team, not when you are trying to win 90 games. And they've got to go out and win this series. And yeah, you're right. Texas, they get Scherzer back. It looks like on Saturday, I think, which is the Royals get Walker back on Saturday too. So the Rangers are starting to get their guys back, and that's going to be a tougher series than I think it looks like by record on paper. But they got to win that. They got to win at least 2 games there too. I mean, if they 4-2 for the rest of the road trip is fine. 5-1, I'd be real happy with that.
He absolutely would be real happy. He writes about it, as he said. Today's the the free newsletter, and he writes several times a week, and a paid subscription is very affordable, and his expertise graces these airwaves every now and then. David, always appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Danny.
David Lesky from Inside the Crown will go around baseball and cover the U.S. Open and a lot of other compelling stuff. Coming up next, it's Monday Musings, Danny and Friends Sports Wrap, presented by ASFCA.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here at the 23rd Street Brewery with Matt Llewellyn. And Matt, basketball's over, football's still a few months away, but there's always fun to be had at the 23rd Street Brewery.
Absolutely. We've always got something going on here. The games are always going on. It's a great place to come enjoy everything out on the patio. Beautiful scenery out there. Great beer. I've got a great brewer, great food. It's always fun here at the brewery.
And the atmosphere is great and friendly and warm, too.
We always want to make sure you're a lot happier when you leave than you were when you came in.
Always fun here at the 23rd Street Brewery at 23rd and Castle. Make sure to come by when you're in Lawrence.
Did you experience hail damage last year and never got the work done? Most insurance companies only give you a year to get the roof fixed. And if you don't get it done, you could possibly not be compensated in full for the replacement of your roof. If you've been procrastinating getting that damaged roof taken care of, give us a call at 913-257-5426. And we'll send out an expert to help you through the process. We're never pushy, we're just here to help. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
If you'd like to join these and other fine sponsors and market your business on Kansas City's #1 rated podcast, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to working with you.
Welcome back. Our thanks to David Lesky. Always a great breakdown of the Royals. Inside the Crown is a great source. On Mondays, it's free, so you can sample it. It is very, very affordable to be a full-time subscriber, as I am. If you like the Royals and you want to impress your friends with plenty of knowledge, David will provide it for you. And indeed, we will get to that U.S. Open here in a minute, but the baseball roundup comes your way for continuity's sake. We just did baseball. Let's go around the major leagues and check in on baseball's, well, team that's in the fight for the best team in baseball, the New York Yankees. They certainly looked like it against the Royals. The Royals did salvage a game, as we talked about, but the Yanks have only split their last 5 games, and the Orioles, who are mighty good themselves, have won 8 of their last 10 games. They hit more home runs than anybody in baseball. They've been an exciting young bunch that doesn't really hit for high average, but they catch it, they hit it over the wall, and they are a game and a half back of the Yankees. The Red Sox have been 500-ish, but they've been better of late. They're over the break-even point. They have a run differential that indicates they should be a winning team, and they are. But they are one of the teams that the Royals are going to have to pay attention to as far as the wild card. They are 3.5 games behind the Royals right now. The Blue Jays haven't gotten themselves into that position yet, although they've won a couple in a row in 6 of their last 10. And the Rays look like they'll just be a team that's going to be tough to play, but are not going to find enough traction to be good. We'll have to wait and see. The Guardians have finally cooled off a little bit. They lost their last couple games and have split their last 10, but they're still easily clear of the Royals in the Central and playing easily over 600 baseball. They're doing it with fine pitching, offense that's better than expected, and they're just a good squad. And the Royals don't seem likely to chase them down. They seem to be a team that's going to have to pay attention more to what's going on behind them than what's ahead of them, but we'll have to wait and see. We talked about the Royals extensively. The Twins have played good ball for quite a while now. They've won their last 5. They're lurking just a half game behind the Kansas City Royals now in the standings. Tigers just can't quite seem to get it going. When they do, they fall back a little bit. They've dropped 7 of their last 10, but they're only a handful of games under 500 and certainly not out of anything right now. The White Sox certainly are. They have some hot hitters right now, but still they get beat most of the time. 6 of their last 10. Their winning percentage is just barely above the 250 New York Mets part at 260 that we talk about often on the Roundup. Out west, the Mariners have played very well for quite a long time now, and they control the West by 8.5 games over the defending champion Rangers. They and the Astros just can't seem to get it going. You keep expecting these teams to find form, and they can't do it. And the Rangers have lost 6 of their last 10. The Astros have split their last 10. And they are the 2 teams that you expect to get going, but never quite do it, and haven't proved that they will yet. Angels are just bad, but the Athletics are just worse. and the Athletics have found another bad streak. They've lost 9 of their last 10. Is that good news or bad news for the Royals? I'll always say that I'd rather play a team that's bad than a team that's due. I guess the Athletics at home are a team that could put up a little bit of a fight. They've done that in streaks this year. We talked about that with David Lesky, but the Athletics right now in another bad vein of form. Phillies have cooled a bit. They're 500 in the last 10 games. They and the Braves actually haven't played great baseball for a while now, but the Phillies put up so many great performances for a long stretch that they can afford to drop a couple and split their last 10, which they've done. And the Braves now are looking more and more like a team that's just going to have to think about wild card positioning. They're 8 full games back of the Phillies. The Nationals have been one of baseball's best surprises. They rebuilt from the bottom, and their young players have started to play better. Lane Thomas is hitting a bunch of home runs. They've won 8 of their last 10. They're almost 500. And the Mets have revived some hopes within their fans that they can be a wild card team. As of a couple days ago, I didn't check it again today, 500 was good for the wild card spot in the National League. So pretty much everybody's in it if they can keep within spitting distance of 500. The Mets have done that. The Marlins have not. Bad season for them. Nuff said. The Brewers just continue to be a solid, high-performing team. They've won 6 of their last 10. They have a big lead in the Central. The Cardinals have finally found some form. They've played well for a while now, a couple weeks. Won 6 of their last 10 to get to 500, where they've been lingering for a little bit. And the Pirates are back on a pretty decent run themselves. They're near 500. That's what I said before. That means you're in it as far as potentially being a wild card team. And the Cubs have fallen flat of late, losing 7 of their last 10, but they're still in that mix of around 500, which so many teams in baseball are right now. You just saw the Dodgers. They haven't been scoring many runs. The Royals held them down but couldn't beat them in a series. But the Dodgers have themselves a big, fat lead in the West. The Padres are one of the 500 bunch. So are the Diamondbacks. So are the Giants. And only the Rockies, who are bad out West, are a team that is out of contention for wild card in the West. There's really only a handful of truly bad teams in baseball and a whole bunch of teams that are right around 500. The U.S. Open is a golf tournament, so if you're not a golf fan, I guess maybe you don't watch, but there are many people who are sports fans who only watch the majors, and if they did over the weekend, they saw incredible drama, and Bryson DeChambeau becomes the champion for the second time of the U.S. Open. He has played great in all the majors this year, and it was not the power and brawn and long hitting of DeChambeau that won the day this time around. It was his scrambling and putting that did the trick, particularly on the final day where he kept hitting the ball in the native areas. Actually, truth be told, kept getting a lot of good breaks in there, although those big clumps of grass are kind of sturdy, so you almost have to kind of bounce right in there. If not, it's going to bounce off them. But DeChambeau got better bounces than most until the final hole, where he made a miraculous up and down, which wouldn't really have mattered if Rory McIlroy hadn't missed putts of 2.5 and 3 feet 11 inches, 2 putts under 4 feet. He had missed none in almost 400 tries all year. He had missed none. Well, he'd been great in 4 feet and under. He hadn't missed a single putt under 3 feet all year, and he did twice in the last 3 holes. The one on 16 was really inexcusable, 2.5 feet. The one on 18 was a difficult sliding putt. He probably hit it where he wanted to, and it broke more. In the end, he was gutted. DeChambeau had a tough up and down. He converted it. He really had to do that all day long. He shot a 71 over par. McIlroy had the best round of the day going at 3 under. There was only one other 3 under all day long. That was Tony Finau and a couple of other guys down the leaderboard. But then he faltered at the end, and it's still 10 years, and this one's going to hurt the most. And comparisons with Greg Norman are starting now, and that's not good when you're talking about major championships. Rory left without speaking to the media. I can't blame him ordinarily. Hey, in the end, no matter what, I think you probably should always stick around and take your medicine. But in this case, I get it. Rory talks to the media all the time. This is probably a time for him to really gather his thoughts on his own and speak soon whenever the next platform comes. Really, it's going to be the same narrative for him. He competes in the majors. It's not like he's not around. It's not like he's Patrick Cantlay, who had his first really good showing where he was really in contention in a major. He's a fine player who hadn't played well in the majors. Maybe this will pick up his major career. But in the end, it came down